The easiest way to weaken a state is not always to attack it directly. Sometimes you create pressure around it, provoke it into responding, and allow its own reactions to do the damage. Welcome to Fourth Floor Post English. The Soviet Union was not defeated in Afghanistan by an invading American army. It was drawn into a conflict where every response cost more than the action that triggered it. Years later, America entered the same battle directly and fell into a similar trap. It spent trillions, exhausted its political credibility, and eventually withdrew without achieving the permanent order it had promised. That is the nature of reaction trap. And that is increasingly how the new international order is functioning right now. America remains the world's strongest military power, but it no longer wants to pay the full cost of maintaining the system it created. It wants influence without the permanent deployment, deterrence without prolonged war, and regional obedience without accepting unlimited responsibility for regional stability. Nowhere in this is this contradiction clearer than in the Middle East right now. Donald Trump wants hostility with Iran to continue because normalizing relationship with Tehran could create political problems at home and strategic problems with Israel. He cannot afford another prolonged Middle Eastern war. Congress may not authorize it, the American economy does not need it, and the international energy market cannot absorb indefinite disruption around the Strait of Hormuz. Trump therefore wants two contradictory things simultaneously. He wants to appear strong enough to threaten Iran, but restrained enough to escape the consequences of attacking it. He wants Iran to negotiate, but only in a way that can be presented as an American victory. And he wants to protect Israel without allowing Netanyahu to drag America into a war whose objectives Washington no longer fully shares. Iran understands this contradiction, but Iran has little reason to provide him with the historic agreement. It may accept limited arrangements to prevent uncontrolled escalation, but comprehensive political deal under Trump remains highly unlikely. That leaves the region suspended between the war and peace. There may be attacks, responses, temporary understandings, indirect communications, but none of this revolves or resolves the real contest. Iran wants recognition of its regional power and strategic independence. America wants stability without formally accepting the extent of Iran's leverage. The Strait of Hormuz is the central of that struggle. Iran does not need to defeat the United States at sea, it only needs to demonstrate the maritime movement cannot be normalized without some form of Iranian consent. Every attack, interception of threat involving shipping affects oil prices, Arab security, American credibility, and the stability of wider financial system, the petrodollar. That is why Oman is becoming increasingly important. I used to say it before, in Oman, this is the only damage control option for the Washington. Washington needs a channel capable of dealing with Iran without appearing to surrender to it. Oman provides political route that Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, or even Saudi cannot offer in the same way. In terms of Iran, if an understanding is eventually developed around the shipping and the strait, Muscat could emerge as much more influential Arab player in the region. And I used to say it before, even when this war started. So Saudi Arabia also appears to have reached a basic conclusion, but Saudi Arabia value will decrease. Saudi Arabia, I understand, Saudi Arabia does not want its territory, energy infrastructure, or political future tied to a permanent American-Israeli conflict with Iran. Riyadh is watching the old American order weaken while avoiding the steps that could make Saudi Arabia the battlefield for someone else's ambitions. It will engage in Washington, maintain its relationship with Pakistan, but it will increase its relationship with Iran and thereby maybe increasing or growing its relationship with China. This is the larger transformation taking place across the region. Traditional allies are no longer behaving like the permanent extensions of American policy, and Israel is becoming increasingly uncomfortable with that. Washington wants to reduce its regional burden. Netanyahu survives through the confrontation. Now that's a contradiction. Washington wants arrangement that allows conflicts to cool. Netanyahu understands or needs unresolved conflicts that keep Israel military central and force Americans to remain involved. Now that contradiction is visible everywhere, even in Gaza, even in Lebanon, even in Turkey, even in Iran deal. The proposed technocratic arrangement in Gaza does not mean that Gaza is suddenly ready for normal civilian government. Gaza has been devastated, its institutions barely exist, and the Israeli military remains decisive force on the ground. The significance of proposal lies elsewhere, but it brings back the political future of Gaza back into the discussion without first satisfying Netanyahu's demand that every political conversation must wait for the complete disarmament of Hamas. The same contradiction exists in Lebanon. Israel wants Hezbollah neutralized entirely, and Lebanon reorganized around Israeli security demands. America increasingly wants Lebanese front contained because another open-ended conflict would obstruct its wider regional withdrawal, or rather damage control, because that's what the Marco Rubio said. Then there is Turkey. Netanyahu increasingly treats Ankara as a strategic threat, while Washington continues to increase Turkey's military and diplomatic importance. We saw that with the selling of F-35 to Turkey would dilute the airspace monopoly of Israel. So if America strengthens Turkey's position while Israel considers Turkey's part of emerging danger, then divergence is obvious. And we saw that what happened to the Congressman Ro Khanna in Israel. America is not abandoning Israel. It is beginning to separate American interest from Netanyahu's political survival. This changing order is producing space for the other regional powers. Turkey is expanding its reach. Iran has demonstrated that it cannot simply be removed from the regional equation. Saudi Arabia is diversifying its relationships. Oman is becoming more important channel in the Arab world. China is quietly connecting energy security, ports and trade routes into competing architecture, and Pakistan is beginning to enter that space, enter the Middle East. Pakistan is expanding role in the Middle East, and North Africa is real, but Islamabad is misreading the source of its relevance. Pakistan is useful because it possesses the military weight, nuclear capability, a long relationship with Saudi Arabia, access to Turkey's proximity to Iran, and a strategic connection with China. It can communicate across the camps in many ways regional other states cannot. But Pakistan did not gain this space because Trump praised its military. Iran did not trust Pakistan because Islamabad had established a personal relationship with the Trump. It trusted Pakistan because of Pakistan's Chinese connection, rather than its temporary access to White House. Pakistan's leadership appears to believe that it has rebuilt a strategic relationship with America. In reality, much of the engagement has remained transactional. Public praises, personal accesses, and the cryptocurrency-related interest may generate temporary goodwill, but they do not constitute a long-term strategic guarantee. America needed an available military and diplomatic intermediary. Pakistan needed international recognition. For a limited period, these requirements overlapped. But attention is not the power. Pakistan reported involvement in the facilitating communication between Haftar and the Bebe camps in the Libya demonstrates both opportunity and the risk. Libya is not an empty diplomatic field. Turkey, UAE, Qatar, and Russia already possess interest there. If those players broadly accept Pakistan's rules, Islamabad could become a useful intermediary beyond its traditional role. But if Pakistan is seen as entering Libya on the Washington's behalf, the same initiative could backfire. Instead of appearing independent, it would look like a subcontractor for an American that wants to reduce its involvement without actively participating in it. That is the danger surrounding Pakistan's new regional visibility. Diplomatic usefulness is not automatically a problem. Every serious state converts usefulness into influence. But the usefulness becomes exploitation when a country performs the task, absorbs the risk, receives no lasting economic or strategic return. Pakistan has received the attention, but not the investment. It has received the compliments but not the guarantees. It has entered the negotiations, but American positions on the threats confronting Pakistan has not fundamentally changed. The clearest evidence came at the United Nations Security Council, where the effort concerning the BLA was obstructed not merely by the India but by America itself. America's deeper strategic concern remains China, and Pakistan is too closely connected to China to become a reliable American regional instrument without fundamental changes to its foreign policy. CPEC, Gwadar, minerals, Afghanistan, Iran, and Balochistan cannot be separated from the wider competition between Washington and Beijing. If America cannot reverse China's position in the region, it can still attempt to slow its consolidation, and slowly an emerging order does not always require direct war. It can be achieved through instability, proxies, and strategically placed disorder. A belt of instability running through Pakistan, Afghanistan, Balochistan, and the Iranian borderlands would impose simultaneously cost on China, Iran, and Pakistan. It would obstruct connectivity, discourage investment, consume security resources, and force all three states into reactionary policies. Balochistan is the most important pressure point in this equation right now. It borders Iran and Afghanistan, contains Gwadar, hosts routes connected with the China's investment and the deeper penetration with the Iran, and this region suffers from a deep political alienation too. Any instability there damages Pakistan internally, while also increasing the cost of regional expansion. See, different actors can benefit for the different reasons from this. America wants leverage over China and Iran. India wants Pakistan weakened and CPEC obstructed. Israel has reasons to resist any Pakistan role in the Middle East by strengthening Iran, Saudi Defense Cooperation, or an alternative regional security architecture which could be produced in terms of Lebanon or in terms of Libya. Israel does not want that. UAE may have its own commercial and political concerns too. This does not require one unified conspiracy. Strategic interest can converge without every actor operating on its own. Pakistan is therefore entering an environment in which proxy conflict may become the preferred instrument against it. The decisive question is how Pakistan responds. A strategically intelligent state would attempt to separate these converging interests. It would strengthen the relationship with China and Iran, prevent Afghanistan from becoming a permanent hostile frontier, engage the Baloch population politically, isolate the armed organization, and deny India the ability to present Pakistan as the regional aggressor. Pakistan is doing almost the opposite. It is responding exactly as a state inside a reaction trap would respond. There is no doubt that terrorist organization must be fought. A state cannot permit attacks on the civilians, police officers, or the soldiers. But armed force can suppress the attack. It cannot by itself eliminate the political and regional conditions that regenerate the conflicts. Political channels exist. Akhtar Mangal exists. Mahmood Khan Achazai exists. Marang Baloch exists. But instead of using these forces to reduce the space available to militancy, the state continues to reduce political space itself. See, India creates another external dimension to the same trap. This Indus Waters Treaty remains suspended, but the Modi shows little interest in returning to meaningful negotiations. International pressure has not altered India's position either. Symbolic diplomatic movements like getting close to Bangladesh will not alter it either. Modi appears to believe that India can continuously increase pressure without confronting an unacceptable Pakistani response. His political system has also reduced the threshold for blaming Pakistan. Almost any insignificant incident inside the India, even one without the Pakistani involvement, could generate immediate demands of retaliation against the Pakistan. That creates a dangerous equation. Pakistan cannot afford a prolonged conventional war. It is already managing the internal terrorism, fragile economy, but India is leaving Pakistan with fewer peaceful instruments. through which it can protect its water and security interests. At some point, Modi's illusion may only break through confrontation. The danger is that external crisis could temporarily suit both political systems. Modi benefits from the hostility towards Pakistan, and Pakistan's trapped power structure could view confrontation as a justification for the greater internal consolidation. But once the escalation begins, neither the side can determine where it ends. Pakistan may again rely on the nuclear signaling to force international intervention. Trump previously treated the threat very seriously enough to pressure India. A future American administration may not respond in the same manner. Instead of producing the mediation, aggressive nuclear signaling could become the basis of sanctions against Pakistan. Any eventual settlement, particularly over water, may increasingly require the Chinese involvement. India will resist that because Chinese participation would fundamentally alter the bilateral charter of the Indus framework. But if the confrontation reaches a sufficiently dangerous point, China may become the only major force or the power with both the interest and the leverage to intervene. See, the changing of international order is increasing Pakistan's relevance, but the regional reaction trap is also increasing its vulnerability. And precisely this moment, Pakistan's domestic power structure is focused on the wrong questions. The controversy surrounding Ishaq Dar, the promotion of Mohsin Naqvi, the possibility of unelected figures taking the control of cabinet, the technocratic system, and the constant restructuring of authority are not the solution to the crisis Pakistan faces right now. This is why the establishment appears stuck. It may recognize that the current arrangement is becoming a liability, but it fears even limited movement could cause the entire power structure to loosen. There may be communication with Imran Khan. Certain changes within the PTI and the wider system suggest that some channels could be active, but communication does not solve the central contradiction. The establishment wants the political relief without abandoning the system it has constructed. Khan cannot accept the system completely without surrendering the political position that gives him relevance. Until that contradiction is addressed, domestic politics will remain another front consuming Pakistan's capacity. This is the full reaction trap.